Hello and welcome to our PCS Grades weekly webinar. Today we are talking about PCSing with kids. And I've brought some experts here today that we have, I think, almost a dozen kids between the three of us. I'm Liz-Ann Lightfoot. I'm the senior content editor here at PCS Grades. I'm a mom of 5. I'm a writer, a published author, and my family has lived at 6 different military bases. And today I'll share that I have PCSed with kids ages 12 down to 1 year old. So this is my wonderful co-host, Tessa Robinson. So glad to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me back. I love coming on every week, and especially to talk about PCSing. But my favorite topic as a mom of 2 is to talk about kids. I only have 2, which, Lizzie, I'm so glad that you're really pulling in all the numbers for our dozen because 2 isn't quite nearly the number of 5. But I have PCS with a baby. I had a 9-month-old at the time to move back from Guam. So the baby in Kansas, moved that baby to Guam, and then moved back with the baby. We didn't leave her there, although with a 25-hour flight, I might have considered staying and never moving again. We are so excited to be here today with our expert, the waiting warrior, Michelle Bowler. So first question, always a softball. Tell us about yourself and why you created the Waiting Warrior social media pages and your life as a male spouse and mom.
Oh, that's a lot. So first, this is our youngest. This is June. Sorry, she normally is better. But okay, so life as a military spouse and PCSing, we have 4 kids earthside. And so we've done, I just counted. I think we've done 6 moves. And our oldest is only 9. So I've been pregnant. I've never had a tiny baby for a PCS, luckily, but we've done all ages. And then why I started the Waiting Warriors, I've been a military spouse for 10 years. And when I started, there weren't too many great resources of like where you can turn to see how people do this life, right? Like not just like, here's the pamphlets that the military made in the 80s or 90s, but like really like hearing from military spouses. So the Waiting Warriors just started as me wanting to ask people those questions. So I thought, okay, if I start a podcast, then I seem a little bit more legit than just this Army wife who's wanting to talk to people. And it got me through a lot of doors where I could talk to amazing people about all sorts of things. And now it's like over 100 episodes and has progressed into a workbook helping couples during deployment. I'm coming out with a course to help with reintegration. We're going to start some adventure retreats next year. It's just all about helping military couples and military spouses really thrive. Like what does that actually take and look like? So it's a lot of fun because it's a topic I'm really passionate about. So it's fun to do.
Absolutely. And it has been fun to follow you for several years. I love some of your resources. You have some beautiful shout outs coming in from all over the country. Central Florida, I saw Fort Polk, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We have Fort Stewart in Georgia. So those who are watching, please give a shout out to Michelle. You can say hi to June in the background.
Hey, JBLM, we're going there. We're about to go to JBLM.
Excellent. Yep. And we are going to get all of Michelle's PCSing tips and moving with kid tips in the next hour. So just a reminder to you guys that we want to take your live questions. We want to interact with you throughout this show. And at the end, we are giving away a prize. This week's prize is a beautiful necklace handmade by a military spouse from Hope Design Limited. And it has our favorite catchphrase, "This too shall PCS." So excited to give away that necklace to one of you. To be entered, all you need to do is share your comments, share your questions throughout this webinar, anything that you want to hear from Michelle, and we will enter all of you into our wheel of names, which Tessa loves to spin at the end of the show.
It's my favorite, for sure.
All right. So Michelle, I know you told us you've counted up about 6 PCS moves. And I know your kids have been different ages every time, but what ranges have you moved with? And is there an age range that you've found more challenging or easier when you've PCSed?
So, okay, so I had to write this down when you sent me these questions because I could count all the places, but it takes like 4 kids, like you got to think like, wait, how old was each person in that move? Okay, so the first move, we had a 2 and a 6-month-old. Then we had a 3 and a 1.5-year-old, and I was pregnant. Then we had 4, 3, and 1-year-old. Then we had 5, 4, 2, and pregnant. And then we just moved in December for a quick assignment, and we're going to move again in June. So like age-wise, it's kind of the same. But right now they're 9, 7, about to turn 6, and just turned 3. So it really we've moved a lot in the last 10 years. Our longest thing was only like 3 years. So it's hopefully slowing down a little bit after we're at the next place for just a year. But hardest age, I think, kind of depends on your kid's personality. Like I could pick a different age for each kid. I think the hardest is gonna be this next one with our 3-year-old because we're going from Fort Jackson all the way to JBLM in Washington. So it's like 40 plus hours. And no 3-year-old really wants to stay in a car that long. So that's gonna be like the biggest test because she doesn't quite understand what's going on. She just knows she's gonna have to be in a car for a very long time.
I mean, let's be honest. I don't know a 40-year-old that wants to be in the car for 40 hours. That's awful.
Yeah. Like the older kids, we've been able to explain, like, we got to go all the way across the country. They can be distracted a little bit more. Whereas like the 3-year-old, her attention span is like 5 seconds long. You can only reason with her so much. So I think for me, that's
for sure. Well, I know we're going to get into some tips and tricks on long car rides, which I'm anxious to hear what yours are. My kids and I drive from Virginia to Kansas every summer, and it's always an adventure. It's a blast. So I know we're going to get into that in a minute. But first, I want to ask you, you're coming up on a move in June. What are you doing right now? And kind of when is an appropriate time to prepare your children emotionally and logistically for a move?
So for us, we logistically like to start as soon as possible once we have orders. Really, once we know that it's coming up, we bring up just so they're not like caught off guard. I don't know about anybody else's kids, but our kids are like, they have the OCD from like my husband's grandpa, genes, where they really like to know, they like to be in charge, they like to be in control. And so we try to let them know as far in advance what's going to happen. And then once we have orders, we whip out a map. We like to cast it onto our TV. So it's really big. Nobody's fighting over, and I don't think we have an actual paper map of the United States. Maybe we should, but we like to show them like exactly where we are and where we're going. It's helped our kids because we've moved so much and because we've visited family on like opposite sides of the country to kind of reference like, do you remember that drive to grandma's house and how long that took? It's going to be like twice as long. Or we kind of reference everything in like movies. So like it's going to take like this next drive, we're like, it's going to take about 40 or 20 to 25 movies. So we're going to make a list, and that's how long you take. Thank you, June. Hot chocolate's important.
I love that.
So that's yeah, because movies, they understand, right? Like even my 9-year-old doesn't totally grasp what 40 hours means, And then we keep a countdown. We have a big calendar. The moving date is circled in big. They can reach it and like lift it up and count and all that kind of stuff. We've never done like, those like countdown wreaths where you rip anything. I'm not that put together, but that's our logistics side. Emotionally, we really believe in like creating as much continuity as possible. I think that helps kids in a PCS a lot of like simple things of when dad is home, he reads, right now he's going through the Harry Potter books. Like he's going to read to them 3 to 4. Right now they're at like a really good part in the book. So it's more like 5 or 6 nights a week because they're excited, but he reads to them at night. And that is something that we can do in a hotel room. We can do it at a friend's house. We're going to do it immediately when we're at the new place. And then also watching a show, like what have we picked? It's called the Avatar Last Airbender, that like Nickelodeon show. And then there's a second sequel spinoff thing. So that gives you like however many episodes, and it's just something to look forward to each week. And like when we move, we'll watch it. Like once we get there, we'll probably watch it like every night, because then it just makes them feel like, right, this is like what our family does. Our family is still doing our normal thing, instead of it being like absolutely everything has changed and imploded.
I love that.
So
all of those tangible ways to kind of make it real for them and give them something to hold on to and grasp, and that continuity is definitely important. So now that we know that you've been through so many moves with so many children, I know a lot of people in our audience have kids too. So if you are preparing for an upcoming move, we want to hear what ages are your kids, or if you've done one in the past, is there one age that you struggled with that you successfully came up with a really great trick? We want to hear all of those things. But I'm curious, Michelle, on the packing days and the moving days, I know you've done some moves yourself, but you've also used the military movers, correct? So on those days when you have the military movers in your house, what is your strategy with the kids, especially babies and toddlers? Do you arrange childcare, or do you wear the children? What do you do?
So if I've had like a nursing child, yes, I literally just wear them. We have, I think every mom, but especially every military spouse should invest in like a good carrier thing that does not break your back. But I, in general, with military spouse life, and it really becomes prevalent during a PCS, I believe in getting help and like accepting the help and requesting the help and getting childcare when you need it. You absolutely can figure it out and have your kids around, but it is, I promise you, I've done it both ways. It is 10 times better when they're just not around, because a house getting packed up is not fun for kids, at least not in the way like you want them to have fun. It's very fun to climb on boxes and to like ask your movers 100 questions, which I have had a 3-year-old do. Like, she was just chatting away, and that mover was so nice, but they were moving a little bit slower, and it, made things complicated. But we even went as far as this last move. It was 8 hours. We even had neighbors, had them all day long. It was a ditty, so like we were doing it ourselves, but we just wanted them kind of out of the house. They had them all day long. I had pizza delivered, so I didn't feel like I was superimposing. But then also we had some friends that we've known for a long time. They watched our kids overnight. So I drove the U-Haul to Fort Jackson, and then my husband drove his car, and then we super cheap flight. We flew him back, and then he brought other car. So like we literally have just really relied, and I have to tell you, it was way easier. It was way easier to have things moved out without them gone. It was way easier to have like the new house unloaded with them out of there, because I don't know. It's just, for me, like it's never bothered my husband, but for me, I'm like then thinking, are they running into the street? Like everything from running into the street to, are they getting in the way? Like my stress level is 10 times higher, even though they are being relatively good kids, but your brain's just like going crazy.
For sure. I think asking for help is huge. And like you said, I mean, I don't know a kid that wants to watch all their stuff get packed up except to climb on the boxes. It's kind of the best part. So you've been through several moves now. What's one thing you've learned that you will do differently with kids during your next move?
We're going to build more time into our schedule to say goodbyes. I think last time and in times past, they felt really rushed, and I could have planned that better. Like it's this time it's literally written out in the PCS binder, because I don't know, it just snuck up, especially since it was a ditty. It was like, oh yeah, we have all these dates planned of when things are getting picked up and all this, but like all of a sudden it was 3 days until we were moving, and I was like, oh, this is the last time we're seeing our friends. Like, but it's time to go to bed. So like, okay, say goodbye. You know, like it just was really rushed. So this time around, I think a number of us moms, like, we're going to get together and go to the park, and like the park be our goodbye instead of like 2 nights before, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think you have to figure out what works best for you too with goodbyes. I know a dear friend of mine, PCS this fall, or I guess this summer now. And she had all of these different goodbyes. And then at the end, she scrapped it and she sent a text out to everybody she knew and just said, this is the day we're meeting up at this church parking lot, 2:00. We'll have water and cookies. That's it. Like, come say goodbye to us. And that, I mean, it was so funny. We'd had all of these like little special coffee dates right before. And every time it was like, I hope this isn't it. I hope this isn't it. I hope this isn't it. And then finally the last one, we're all like, okay, we've done this 11 times. Goodbye. So I think that's smart to build in time for it. You have to. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything special, right? Like, you're not obligated to provide this whole fancy brunch or whatever to host everybody. It's water and cookies, if that, you know?
Yep. Exactly.
For sure. And I've heard some like cute and fun ways to let the kids write notes to each other and like collect them all in a little goodbye jar, or to take a bunch of pictures and put them into a goodbye journal. And those are fun for people that have the time and the craftiness to do them. That's not personally what I have done, but try to like take as many pictures on my phone as I can and call it a day.
Yeah. I was going to say, we have like albums on the phone. So then, because I just know myself, I'm not going to print them out. I'm not going to scrapbook them. I wanted to be that person, but I'm not. And so I've made peace with that. But I can take pictures. I can make an album in my phone. And then when they're missing their friends, they just scroll through it and out.
I like that. All right. Well, I want to dive into the big question of the car trips, because at least for me, I feel like that is more intimidating than packing up my entire house myself. Like, I can control what I'm packing into the boxes, but taking the whole family into a car for 5 days or 4 days, the various cross-country moves that we've done, is super intimidating. And it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of stress. So before I hear all of your tips, I did want to share, we had a couple people from the audience sharing theirs. Cheryl said that they tried to drive no more than 6 hours a day. And anytime they stopped, it was for at least 2 nights. So I think that's, if you have that timeline, that can be a really cool strategy. And Angela here suggested looking up fun things along the way, aquariums and zoos and museums. So, Michelle, I want to know, what do you do on the long car rides with all the kids during a PCS?
So we have had, it seems like, very different experiences than at least everybody that I hear from in the military. We have never been able to take a long time to travel. When we moved from, at the time we were in Utah, and then we moved to Fort Campbell in Tennessee, we had 3 or 4 days to get there. Granted, my husband's brother had just passed away, so like that, we had planned a week and a half, but then we needed to go to the funeral and stuff. But then again, this time we have 10 days from my husband's graduation from a course until his report date to go 40 hours. So like everybody's saying like, oh, you could see the whole country. And I'm like, well, we've got 10 days. So we are going to try to break it up. There are spots that we've visited in the past. Like we have done vacations in Chattanooga, and there's this very specific place that my kids love. It's like this rock climbing warehouse that we'll go see. So we do try to build those in, but I do just like for those people who are like me, like, what the heck, where are people coming up with this month-long vacation? It also is doable. The biggest thing for us is I like weeks in advance. So like we're moving in 6 weeks, and this is on my to-do list right now. So I'm not doing it once we're getting closer, but I get like Dollar Tree toys and I wrap them up, and every day, honestly, for this drive, we might get like 5 on the last few days just to keep sanity. But it's $1, so it's doable. They'll get like their favorite one was that little gun that like shoots at a ball and the ball's on the string. So they could do that for like, it broke after 2 hours, but again, it's $1. I don't really care, but it's something that they look forward to every morning. It's something different so they don't get bored of the activity, but then also it's something that I just don't care about it breaking, and I don't have to, it's not another thing to like worry about, you know?
For sure.
The other thing that is super helpful for all road trips, 1 second, love, is I got on Amazon, I can't think of like a word, but it's basically like a desktop for the kids. So it's all fabric. So we have smothered it with Chick-fil-A sauce and stuff, you know, like ketchup's gotten all over it and it wiped off really easy. So it's like fabric, and it's just this desktop with little pouches so they can put their water and like little car toys or play ponies. And then it has these flaps for paper and colored pencils and stuff. So they kind of have this little system, but then they can color, they can write notes, they can do those scratching, you know, where it's like all black and then you scratch colors, you know, those are a big hit. And those are just on Amazon. I can't think of what they're actually called.
The card tray table.
Card tray. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a fabric one that we love. The other thing that my husband laughs at me. So like I straight up have practiced, you drive and then you throw like this, you know, and I don't move my head. So we legit like have practiced in my kitchen. I practice right here because then like I know I'll hit this wall, and my daughter sits right where that trash can is, and I just practice so I'm not distracted. And I just always have either my 9-year-old or my 7-year-old right there. So I can throw the snacks, because first of all, just do snacks in like little amounts. It's better to just, the earth will forgive you. You do not have a shirt on, child. Sorry. The earth will forgive you for using a few more plastic bags, but just use small amount of snacks. You have less mess that way, and you just are constantly throwing snacks. But like you got to practice throwing.
I can absolutely relate. I love the reality.
I kind of think it should be like
sharing.
Yeah. I think it should be like if we had a military spouse Olympics, that would be one of the sports we would do, of throwing things without like staying very focused and safe.
For sure.
Yeah, copious amounts of snacks are always really helpful. Mm-hmm. We also do, like I said, we've done the 20 hours from Virginia to Kansas multiple times a year because it's just so much cheap. Although gas is not cheap now, but it's so much cheaper than flying. For whatever reason, flying out of Norfolk, like we could go to Bali for what it costs to go to Kansas. But we do a lot of snacks. We do a lot of stops. I don't necessarily think you have to stay. If you don't have the timeline to stay 2, 3, 4 nights, that's awesome. And I've done that and it's a blast. But at least for us, the like, okay, we're going to stop every couple hours just to get everybody out of the car. My daughter's a little bit older now. She's 11. So I had her research parks along the way, like just little playgrounds. And we would do a 10-minute park stop. And it's amazing. The kids look forward to that. And it's a good reset for you too, especially if you're driving on your own and getting a little bit tired. That's a good one. The laptop tray tables are amazing and a game changer for sure. All really, really helpful hints, Michelle. You can tell you've done this before. When I do want to go into when moving with kids and teens, what special considerations for lodging do you make during your PCS move?
So for us, we've literally like created a whole system, because sleeping in a hotel, especially like multiple hotels, can be very chaotic for kids. And as a parent, right? Like you have been driving all day, you just want to settle down. But what kid like settles down quickly and actually goes to bed when there's like, for us, there's 6 people in a one bedroom, right? Like we maybe sometimes the hotel has 2 queens. Most of the time, like we just never get that room. I don't know what is with our luck. So we just are as prepared as possible to have the 1 bed, small room, right? Like we are not planning on being spread out, and we just have a whole system. We like to, you can get like cot size air mattresses, which work for our kids. Again, they're like younger teens. You would maybe need something a little bit bigger, but like it fits in between every hotel room. It's fit in between like the wall and the bed. So we can have kids on that, because then that way they just get their own little space. We like to have them, they've got their pillow inside their pillow. So like you got your pillowcase put in, everybody has like one sleep animal, stuffed animal. That's the word, stuffed animal, and a little blanket. They're in charge of that. So then there's no fighting, and we switch like who gets to sleep where, right? Like somebody gets to sleep on the pull-out bed, somebody gets to sleep on the air mattress on mom's side, somebody gets to sleep on the air mattress on dad's side, and they just know from the get-go we are rotating, we are not arguing, mom and dad are saying who, because then there's like no fighting. And then there's this app that has like bedtime, I think they call them sleepy stories. Or maybe that's just what my kids call them. And I've never actually read what the app is called. But it's just like a sleep meditation story. And that again is like continuity from going to sleep at home. So we have that on an iPad so they can do that wherever we are. And it helps chill the vibe a bit.
I love that.
Yeah.
I will say one thing. I mean, it's a little bit different with 6 people versus 3. But one thing that we've always done on our trips is we always pack just an overnight duffel bag. So instead of lugging or taking all of your suitcases out, I'm not a very organized person except on road trips, and so I'll have like this is our Monday night duffel bag. So the Monday night duffel bag comes out. Tuesdays or Tuesday night duffel bag. So that way you're not bringing everybody's suitcases in, trying to figure out who has clean underwear. I mean, it's just, it's a logistics nightmare. So if you can pack an overnight bag, it makes it so much easier than trying to do everybody's suitcases for sure.
Yeah. Or packing cubes. Like, have you seen those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We like to just have packing cubes. But again, like my kids are tiny, like physically small, but also younger. So like I can fit all 4 girls in like one little packing cube, because I'm real lazy and I don't even want to take a suitcase. But then you just grab that and the bathroom bag and you're good.
We do a pretty minimal amount of clothes because there are 7 in my family. And if they all packed a week's worth of clothing, that would fill up the whole car. So we usually do about 4 days worth of clothes for the whole family. And you have 1 to wear and then 1 to change into the next day. And I just have to do laundry every day or every other day at the hotel. So I bring those fabric laundry bags with us, and everyone, as they take off their dirty clothes, is just throwing it all into the laundry bag, and get to hang out in the hotel laundry rooms a lot. Good times. You have Jen here is seconding the packing cubes. So love that idea. And Michelle, I'm just going to ask you, after the fact, we had a request for the link to those lap pads. If you get a chance,
Okay.
please look it up afterwards and either send it to us or drop it in the comments here, because you definitely piqued some curiosity on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's say that we have some listeners who are either moving for the first time or doing their first PCS move with kids. What words of advice do you have for us or for our friends who are preparing for their first PCS move with children?
For the PCS process, I would go back to what I said before of like, just ask and accept the help. If it helps you because you're like me and like somebody says, let me know if I can help you, or they're like, can I help you with anything? And your brain is so just like cross-eyed and kerfuffled that you can't think of anything. Like, but I think of stuff at like 2 a.m, you know, like, oh, I guess somebody could help me. Write it in your phone. So then you're like, wait, let me like pull up my list. Could you, I don't know, like vacuum out the spill of Cheerios that is now all over my car? Or could you watch the kids on this day? Or could you, I mean, there's like 10 million things. Just take the kids to the park. You know, I can't even think of it now because I'm already, you know, like you never think of it in the moment. So if you just have that written down. The other thing that I think helps particularly really with the whole process, but especially when you're in the car, if you can anticipate their needs, then you're not as like flustered in the moment. Kids are kids, right? Like, and by nature of being kids, they're gonna have needs. Otherwise they would have moved out of the house and like been their own human, right? So they're gonna have needs. So just cover like every basis that you possibly can. And again, I like to do this like 6 weeks before the move when I'm not all whatever, but it's things like all the little snacks and the little toys and the different coloring options. And then in the moment, like, I don't know, it sometimes I like feel funny talking about it because people think that it's all just like getting through the list, but it goes a long way to remember that your kids are children. Like they are undeveloped brains, even at 16, 17 years old. Like, what is it? The science, like our brain is not fully developed until we're 21. Like I was married and I had a kid. I did not have a fully developed brain. Like that's crazy. But when you're talking about moving like that, when they have a bad attitude and you're like, what is your problem? Or they're having a temper tantrum because their sister is like just barely poking them on the cheek, but not really, you know, like those moments where you're just like, what are you doing? You can, if you just literally answer like, well, of course they're doing that, instead of asking why, like, of course they're doing that because they're a kid. Then you can just, for me, it helps me like stay in a calm place and be like, this is not the end of the world. This is not a huge deal. They're a kid. They're supposed to do this. And I'm the parent and I get to kind of coach them through how to handle being in a car on hour 27 on day 6, where they're moving to an unknown place and they don't understand, right? Like this is my chance to coach them and teach them versus like, what the heck is wrong with you? And why are you sticking the gummy bear on the window shield, right? Like, and then rolling it down and it getting all gunked up. Like it helps me stay in a better place. And nobody's perfect at it. Like we all get to our moments where we need to tap out, but as a general rule, that makes it like 90% better when you can just remember, like, instead of asking why or what the heck are you thinking, you're remembering, of course they're going to do that. They're kids and they're experiencing something totally new. And I get to teach them how to do this part.
Absolutely. Okay, we have a great comment here from Courtney who says, we let our kids pick a super special PCS snack dinner. So a little follow-on question for you. And Lizanne, I think I might be making this up. There's a very good chance I'm making this up. I feel like at one time in our 7 years of friendship, you once told me that you took a crock pot to the hotels. Is that true?
I take an Instapot. Yes.
Instapot. Okay. So I didn't make it up. That's good. Michelle, I'm curious for you. What do you do? I mean, feeding a family of 5 gets expensive, breakfast, lunch, dinner over 7 days. What do you do for meals?
Breakfast, we always stay at a hotel that has breakfast, which I know with COVID, like, is still a little bit weird and you got to do a little bit of research, but also like Costco, Sam's Club muffins, something that is, muffins kind of like make a huge mess, but it's just like very simple of it's in a bag and I can give it to you and it can be in the car for 10 days, right? Lunch, we do dollar menu at whatever. And then dinner, we rotate between like what is, we've never done like Instant Pot, but like what can I go to Walmart or Kroger's and buy and either heat up really fast or sandwiches, you know, that type of a thing. We don't like to like have a cooler because I have multiple times forgotten to put ice in it. So then the food's gone bad. So I just know within myself that like, that's just not a realistic option for me. So we go to the store every day and it's a little bit cheaper than going to Chick-fil-A every night. We definitely still do like, what's my favorite? I think my kids like, it's either Applebee's or Chili's that they like better. And so we'll throw in one night because there is per diem, but also like my kids are small and we don't buy them all their own meal. And like my husband is a master at like, how do I describe it? Like there's not a word, but like he can see the amount of leftovers and he knows the exact Tupperware size where it will fit perfectly. So like he can guess food like perfectly, right? And it's come with 10 years of having kids and ordering too many meals and not everybody eating them and stuff. So he's like a master orderer. So we don't like, he and I share a meal. We are not doing leftovers. It's not the day to get your own favorite, whatever. We'll do that once we get there. But like on the road, it's, you know, sharing a meal because they're huge. And then like Kroger's and what's that other store? Publix. They have some pretty yummy like freezer meals that are just a step up, you know, than like what you'll find at Walmart or something. But they all have things like those. I don't remember the other brand, but there's like Bertolli and then this other brand of like pasta. So I've straight up like brought a pan and cooked this like pasta thing and it was $6 instead of $56, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Mary just said protein shakes. That's what Austin and I will have for lunch most times. Like it's just, we bring our, I think it's like a bullet, you know, where it's just one thing. That's with us. There's like the continental breakfast always has milk and ice and you just shake that up.
I love a Costco rotisserie chicken too. Stacey Vance, they're my favorite. So good.
Yeah. Grab a rotisserie chicken and like one of those pasta bag things, or even just like a chicken and a salad mix. Like that is one of the big ones that will feed our family. And those chickens they're real good. Like, I don't know what.
Ooh, I like this idea, Courtney. That's fun. All right. Yeah. So speaking of a PCS cookbook, Liz Ann, I'm dying to know, just talk to me about this Instapot situation because I'm so curious now.
So I have a family of 7. I have a teenager now and the youngest is 2. So they are reaching that age where they all eat a lot. And we don't typically get a kitchenette unless we're going to be staying more than one night in a hotel. Like it's hard to get those bigger hotel rooms with the actual kitchen. I do some of the same things that Michelle has, where you can do the one pan meal if I have a stove to cook on. But in our minivan, we have these cool little secret compartments underneath one of the big bench seats where you're supposed to keep like jumper cables and useful things. I make that my little emergency kitchen supply. And so I can put like one baking sheet, an Instant Pot, a frying pan, and like a couple of essential utensils. And I can either pull it out at a hotel that, you can just put an Instant Pot on the counter and throw some groceries in there and have dinner in half an hour. Or we also use it when we're house camping, when we get to our place and our household goods haven't arrived yet. I do have a kitchen in base housing, but there's no supplies. So you only have the pan and the baking sheet and the Instant Pot that you've brought with you. So I took a couple of pictures when we moved here. Our very first couple of nights, I had some food that I had thrown together, cooked it up the Instant Pot. We ate on little paper plates and bowls sitting on our back patio because we had no chairs and no silverware and no furniture, but we had food. So
that's awesome. That is so brilliant. I love it. So fun.
Well, I will also say that we've had some bad experiences with the kids, that we don't eat out at restaurants a whole lot. And we learned quickly that if they have 2 restaurant meals in a day with like fried chicken nuggets, it is not great for their digestive system and has caused some accidents along the way. So it's because of that we've learned to always have that emergency supply of a change of clothes for everyone in the car, and the paper towels and the baby wipes and like all the things you would need for an accident or a mess, but also just to kind of keep that continuity with their diet and their nutrition, what they're used to eating. Try not to go off of it with too many sweets, too many fried treats. Just, you don't want to upset the little tummies. So
yeah, definitely by day 5, day 6, everybody's sick of cheeseburgers. Everybody's fruit snacked out for sure. So I love, somebody said you do so much with the rotisserie chicken. Simple and easy chicken salad for sure is great. Fruits and vegetables are great. The healthier you can be, I think the healthier everybody feels emotionally, physically, all of it. All right, Michelle, get ready. It's our favorite time of the day. Well, my favorite is always the Wheel of Names, but right before we go into and it is about that time, we have our rapid fire. All right, June, this first question's for you. How old are you, June?
How old are you?
How old are you, June? 3. Amazing. We love you, Junebug. All right. What was your toughest moment, Michelle, PCSing with kids?
When my kid threw up and like half in the car. It was 9 o'clock because I don't even remember what happened to the car, but something happened to the car. So like we were stranded somewhere for a little bit while we were fixing it. And then, it overheated. So because we were, poor and had a crappy car, and anyways, long day, long, miserable day. Then she threw up half in the car. And then we were trying to get a 4, 3, and 1-year-old to fall asleep in a hotel at 9 o'clock after driving and having a miserable day. And then this kid was throwing up all throughout the night.
Oh,
and
gross.
Just so fun.
Well, on that note, sorry, what would be your go-to item to bring in the car on the long car trips?
One of those trash grabber things, like
the extra
that has like a yeah, because my kids always want to give me stuff, but like I can turn and throw really easy, but it's hard. Like I can't reach, like across, but I get one of those trash grabber things. So then I can reach and they can like put it right in. I say clip, or they tell me to clip and then I pull it back up.
That's awesome. And also helpful for them when I've dropped it. I dropped my snack.
Exactly.
I can't help you. I'm driving. You're welcome.
For us, it's called a no throw. It's like a little Velcro rope that you can put on the baby's water bottle or favorite toy. And we have that clipped onto the car seat. So at least if they drop it, it doesn't go all the way down to the floor and they can get it back.
Yeah.
All right. Funniest PCS story with kids.
Funniest PCS story? Man, I only think of the bad ones. Well, so we were going, I don't even remember where we were moving to, but we were it was when we were moving to Fort Campbell. So we stopped in Amarillo. I can't ever say the actual name. She was 3 at the time. She thought it was so funny that we were sleeping in a city called Amarillo. And so they just kept on like laughing hysterically. Again, it was like late at night, we're all tired. And this 3-year-old's just saying like, I get to sleep in an armadillo and I'm going to ride the armadillo. And like, but now she just like, even still to this day, it's been 4 years. And she's like, do you remember that time where we stayed in a town called Amarillo? Like, how funny.
Oh, I love it.
Laugh happy kids. It's funny.
I'm glad they always have those one happy memory that they can just latch on to. So, all right, guys, we are going to wrap it up and go into our wheel of names. I know that Tessa is so excited for this part. We are giving away a Hope Design Limited necklace made by military spouse Lauren Hope. And it has our favorite PCS grades catchphrase, which is, this too shall PCS.
Oh, the best. While I'm loading up the wheel of names, which, as you all know, feels like a Christmas miracle every time. Michelle, while I get that ready to go and share my screen, why don't you tell us where folks can find you on the interwebs? How can we find the Waiting Warrior and get involved?
So there's thewaitingwarriors.com, and kind of all the links will be found there. Or you can come have fun with us on Instagram. It's at The Waiting Warrior. We're also on Facebook. But yeah, come hang out with us. We like to laugh at the ridiculous things that military spouses go through, but we also, like PCS grades, like to talk about the real things that we can do to get through all the kind of crazy that comes up. So come say hi. You can listen to the podcast. The podcast is all over the place, and just learn and grow together.
Awesome. All right. Moment of truth. Here we go. Who's going to win the fabulous This Too Shall PCS necklace? And it's going to be a mystery. Julianne Nodden. All right, Julianne, please message the page with how to get in touch with you. And we are so excited that you won. This is very fun. Michelle, thank you for being here. And June, thank you for being here too. We appreciate you. And Lizanne, you want to tell us about next week, even though you're not going to be here?
I know. Next week, I do have to step away because I am traveling to the Military Spouse of the Year conference in Washington, D.C. So if you're going to be there, absolutely stop by the PCS grades table and say hello. Tessa is going to be holding down the fort here by herself. But we're going to be wrapping up the month of the military child, focusing on Operation Purple Camp, which is a really cool resource for military kids, sponsored by the National Military Family Association, NMFA. So you will see them here. You will see Tessa next week, same time, same place. And until then, this too shall PCS.